The fight ended in 12 seconds. Dracor stood over the unconscious body of a Tandorian spike bear, blood dripping from his clawed hands. Around him, thousands of aliens from dozens of worlds roared their approval. The Crimson Arena had seen another victory for the Grix champion. Dracor raised his arms high. His reptilian scales gleamed under the harsh lights. At 7 feet tall with muscles that could crush steel, he represented everything the Grix people valued: strength, dominance. Most importantly, absolute fearlessness. In the luxury viewing boxes above, merchants and diplomats placed their bets for the next fight. The arena was more than entertainment. It served as a testing ground where the galaxy's most dangerous creatures faced each other. Every species wanted to prove their world produced the fiercest predators. The battle registry kept careful records. After 3 years, the Grix held the top 17 positions. Station Commander Yeltris, a four-armed Beluvian, watched from his private box. Beside him sat Patricia Okonkwo, the newly arrived human colonial coordinator. She looked uncomfortable as medical teams dragged the spike bear away. "Your people have been here 1 week," Yeltris said. "Have you considered entering the registry?" Patricia shook her head. "We're here to establish trade relations, not fight. Every species fights. It determines hierarchy." Yeltris gestured at the arena floor where Dracor was accepting a trophy. The Grix were once considered weak. They proved themselves through combat. Now they sit on 3 council seats. Humans prefer diplomacy. Yeltris made a sound that might have been laughter. Diplomacy is what prey animals do. Down in the human residential sector, far from the arena's noise, Dr. Raymond Cross was having a similar conversation with his 5-year-old daughter, Lily. She pressed her face against the transparent wall of a specialized habitat module. "Why is Badger so small, Daddy?" Lily asked. Raymond smiled. Inside the habitat, a gray and black creature about the size of a large cat was digging furiously in the dirt. Badger is a honey badger. They're not very big, but they're very special. Can he do tricks? Not tricks exactly, but he's very good at surviving. Raymond pulled up his datapad, showing Lily images from Earth. Honey badgers live in Africa. They eat bees, fight snakes, and sometimes steal food from lions. Lily's eyes widened. "Lions, the big cats?" "Yes, honey badgers are brave. Some people say they're the bravest animals on Earth." The little creature in the habitat stopped digging and looked at them. Its dark eyes held no fear, only curiosity. Badger approached the transparent wall and sniffed at where Lily's hand rested on the other side. "He likes me," Lily said. "He probably smells the fruit bar you had for lunch," Raymond replied, but he knew his daughter was right. Over the past week, Badger had grown accustomed to their visits. The animal showed none of the stress that other Earth creatures displayed in the station's artificial environment. That evening, Raymond attended a mandatory meeting in the station's main conference hall. Representatives from a dozen species gathered to discuss integration protocols. The humans sat in their assigned section, clearly separated from the others. Talrock, a young Grix warrior, stood near the entrance with 2 companions. As Raymond passed, Talrock spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "More prey animals arriving. Soon the station will smell like fear." His companions laughed. Raymond kept walking, but his jaw tightened. This had been happening all week. The Grix viewed humans as weak because they refused to participate in the arena fights. Patricia addressed this issue during the meeting. "We request equal treatment under station law. Our people are being harassed." Commander Yeltris tilted his primary head. "You have equal rights. If you feel disrespected, prove your worth. The arena is open to all species. We're scientists and traders, not fighters. Then accept your position in the hierarchy." Yeltris moved to the next agenda item. After the meeting, Raymond walked home through the market corridor. Alien merchants sold goods from 100 worlds. Most ignored him. A few pulled their products away as he passed, as if humans might contaminate them. He found Lily in their quarters, drawing pictures of Badger. His daughter had adapted to station life better than most adults. She made friends at the Multi-Species Education Center and learned basic trade language faster than anyone expected. "Did you visit Badger today?" Raymond asked. "Yes." He was eating. "He's very messy," Raymond laughed. Honey badgers were indeed messy eaters. They attacked their food with the same intensity they showed everything else. Nothing delicate or refined about them. Pure, focused determination. His communication device beeped, a message from the station's xenobiology department. They wanted samples from all Earth creatures for the central database.
Standard procedure for new species.
Raymond scheduled the appointments for the following week. Back in the arena, Dracor was giving an interview to a galactic news network. The reporter asked about future challenges. "I have defeated creatures from 40 worlds," Dracor said. "I will defeat creatures from 40 more. The Grix do not know fear. We are the perfect warriors. What about the humans? They brought several Earth creatures." Dracor's eyes narrowed. "The humans refuse to enter the registry. Their creatures are probably as weak as they are. Prey does not challenge predators." The interview broadcast across the station. In the human sector, several families watched with growing frustration. They had come here hoping for peaceful cooperation. Instead, they faced constant disrespect. Patricia called an emergency meeting with human department heads. "We need to address this situation. It's affecting morale." "Perhaps we should demonstrate Earth fauna capabilities," suggested a biologist. "Show them we're not weak." "We're not here to fight," Patricia insisted. "Then we're here to be victims," the biologist replied. The meeting ended without resolution. Everyone returned to their quarters feeling defeated. This wasn't how first contact was supposed to work. Every Earth story about meeting aliens involved mutual respect and wonder. Instead, they found themselves at the bottom of a hierarchy based purely on physical intimidation. In his habitat, Badger finished his meal and began grooming himself. The small creature had no concept of hierarchies or respect. He simply existed moment to moment, fearing nothing and tolerating no threats. On Earth, this attitude had served his species well for millions of years. Soon it would change everything on Highwatch 7. 2 weeks had passed since the humans arrived at Highwatch 7. Lily walked through the education center with her datapad tucked under her arm. She had just finished a lesson on galactic history. Most of the other students were nice, but some kept their distance. Their parents had warned them about the weak newcomers. Telrock waited near the exit with his 2 friends. The 3 young Grix warriors blocked the doorway. They were not yet fully grown, but each stood over 6 feet tall. Their scales still showed the bright green of youth. "Prey spawn," Telrock said as Lily approached. "Where are you going?" "Home," Lily replied quietly. She tried to walk around them. Telrock moved to block her path. "You should learn your place here. Your kind doesn't belong in our spaces. The teacher said all students can use these halls. The teacher is wrong." Telrock leaned down, showing his teeth. "Prey animals should know when predators are near." One of his friends laughed. "Maybe we should teach her what fear feels like." Lily's hands shook, but she kept her voice steady. "You're not allowed to hurt me. Station law says so." "We won't hurt you," Telrock said. "Just scare you. There's no law against that." In the maintenance level below the education center, Badger was exploring his new freedom. 3 days ago, he had discovered that the magnetic locks on his habitat opened when the cleaning system activated. Raymond had not noticed yet. The honey badger had been slipping out each afternoon, investigating the station's endless corridors. Today, Badger found something interesting. A ventilation shaft carried the scent of the small human who visited him every day. The same small human who brought treats and made soft sounds. Badger had no concept of friendship, but he recognized familiar things. Familiar things were territory. Territory must be defended. He squeezed into the ventilation shaft and followed the scent. Back in the education center corridor, more students had gathered. Word spread quickly when the Grix warriors started trouble. A crowd formed a circle around Lily and her 3 tormentors. No one intervened. Station hierarchy was clear. The strong did as they pleased. Telrock extended one clawed hand toward Lily's face. He moved slowly, deliberately, wanting her to see the sharp points that could tear through flesh. "Do you feel it now, little prey?" The fear? Lily pressed her back against the wall. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. She wanted to run, but her legs would not move. Tears formed in her eyes. "There it is," Telrock said with satisfaction. "Now you understand where you belong." A metallic scraping sound came from above. Everyone looked up at the ventilation grate in the ceiling. Something moved behind the slats. Then with a crash, the grate fell to the floor. Badger dropped through the opening and landed between Lily and the 3 Grix warriors. For a moment, nobody moved. The small earth creature stood there, barely knee-high to the warriors. His gray and black fur bristled. His dark eyes fixed on Telrock with absolute focus. Talrock laughed. What is this, a pet? It's one of the Earth creatures, his friend said. From the research lab. Even better. We'll scare both the prey animals. Talrock raised his foot to kick Badger aside. Badger exploded into motion. The honey badger's jaws clamped onto Talrock's extended leg. Teeth designed to crack bone penetrated deep through the grick scales that were supposed to be nearly impenetrable. Claws meant for digging through concrete raked across the warrior's shin. Talrock's laugh turned into a scream. He tried to shake the creature off, but Badger held on with impossible strength. The warrior stumbled backward, crashing into his companions. Get it off me! Talrock shrieked. His two friends grabbed at Badger. One caught him by the back and pulled. Most creatures would release their grip. Honey badgers don't. The warrior pulled harder. Badger twisted his body, maintaining his hold on Talrock while slashing at the new attacker. Blood sprayed across the floor. The second warrior released Badger with a cry of pain. Deep cuts ran along his arms where the small creature's claws had found flesh. The third warrior tried to be smart. He grabbed a cleaning tool from a nearby cart, a long pole with a gripper at the end. He extended it toward Badger, trying to catch the creature without getting close. Badger released Talrock and charged the third warrior. The young Grix barely had time to register what was happening before the honey badger was climbing his leg. Claws dug in for purchase. Teeth sought any exposed area. Help me. The third warrior spun in circles trying to dislodge his attacker. Badger held on like he was glued there. Talrock limped to his feet, his leg bleeding freely. He looked at his two friends, both injured and panicking. He looked at the small earth creature still attacking without any sign of stopping. For the first time in his life, Talrock experienced true fear. Run, he shouted. All three Grix warriors fled. They pushed through the crowd of students and disappeared down the corridor. Their screams echoed through the halls. Badger stopped at the edge of the corridor. He watched the warriors retreat, then calmly walked back to where Lily stood frozen against the wall. The small creature sat down beside her, blood staining his muzzle. He began grooming himself as if nothing unusual had happened. The crowd of students stood in shocked silence. Nobody could process what they had just witnessed. 3 Grix warriors, members of the most fearless species in known space, had run screaming from a creature smaller than their arms. Lily slowly slid down the wall until she sat on the floor. She reached out with a trembling hand and touched the top of Badger's head. The honey badger allowed this, pausing his grooming briefly. A teacher finally arrived, alerted by the screaming. She froze in the doorway, taking in the scene. Blood on the floor. A small earth creature covered in it, and Lily, safe and unharmed. Someone contact security, the teacher whispered. And get the human doctor now. Within minutes, Raymond arrived running. He saw the blood in his daughter and nearly collapsed with relief that she was unhurt. Then he saw Badger and understood what had happened. I'm sorry, Raymond said to the teacher and the gathered students. He must have escaped from his habitat. He's protective of Lily. They've bonded. That creature attacked 3 Grix warriors, the teacher said, her voice shaking. What kind of animal is it? Raymond looked at Badger, who was now completely calm. Just a honey badger. They're from Earth. Earth, the teacher repeated. She looked at Lily with new eyes. What kind of world produces creatures like that? Raymond had no answer. He carefully secured Badger, lifting the animal gently. The honey badger allowed this without resistance. All threat had passed. There was no more reason for aggression. As they walked away, Raymond heard the students whispering. The word Earth repeated over and over, now spoken with something that sounded like fear. News of the incident spread across HFY 7 within the hour. By evening, the entire station knew. 3 Grix warriors defeated and humiliated by a creature small enough to fit in a carrying case, and humanity's position in the hierarchy had just changed. The medical center on HFY 7 had treated injuries from dozens of species. Doctors there had seen wounds from plasma burns, acid spray, and crushing force, but they had never treated Grix warriors who were afraid to return to consciousness. Talrock lay on a medical bed with his leg bandaged. His 2 companions occupied nearby beds. All 3 refused sedation. They wanted to stay alert in case the small earth creature returned. Dr. Helleth, the head physician, reviewed their wounds with growing confusion. These injuries are from teeth and claws, basic biological weapons. Your scales should have provided adequate protection. The creature was too fast, one of the warriors said. It didn't care that we were bigger. It didn't care that we hit it, another added. Nothing stops it. Dr. Helleth checked her medical scanner. The creature is called a honey badger. It weighs approximately 9 kilograms. You three together weigh over 400 kilograms. The size difference alone should have made this impossible. You weren't there, Talrock said quietly. You didn't see its eyes. There was no hesitation, no doubt. It just attacked. In another part of the station, security footage of the incident played on every viewing screen. Aliens from 100 worlds watched the recording. Some laughed at first, thinking it must be edited. Then they watched it again. And again. The disbelief turned to something else. Commander Yeltris called an emergency meeting. Patricia sat across from him with Raymond at her side. Badger remained in a secure carrier between them. Your creature attacked 3 residents, Yeltris said. Station law requires punishment for such actions. Badger was protecting my daughter, Raymond replied. Those warriors were threatening her. Station law also protects the right to self-defense. The creature is not a resident. It has no rights. Then neither does any other animal brought here for research, Patricia said, including the spike bears in your arena. Yeltris's forearms crossed in frustration. This is different. How? Because nobody fears spike bears after they've been defeated. Your creature defeated Grix warriors and they're terrified of it. Yeltris leaned forward. Do you understand what you've brought to this station? Raymond and Patricia exchanged glances. No, Raymond admitted. Please explain. The Grix built their entire culture on fearlessness. For 3 generations, they've proven themselves in combat. They hold positions of power throughout this sector. And now everyone has seen 3 of their warriors run screaming from an animal the size of a small child. Yeltris gestured at the viewing screen where the footage played again. This changes everything. Within his carrier, Badger dozed peacefully. The excitement had passed. Now there was only rest until the next meal or the next threat. In the human residential sector, Lily sat with her mother. The child had been quiet since the incident. She kept replaying the moment in her mind. The fear she felt, the sudden appearance of Badger, the blood and screaming. Are they going to hurt Badger? Lily asked. Her mother, Anne Cross, pulled her close. Your father won't let that happen. Neither will Patricia. Badger saved me. I know, sweetie. Everyone knows. Outside their quarters, humans walked with their heads higher than before. Other residents moved aside in the corridors. The whispers had changed. Instead of mockery, there was uncertainty. If humans brought creatures like that honey badger, what else did Earth produce? Dracor heard about the incident while training in the arena. At first, he dismissed it. 3 young warriors caught off guard by a small animal. Embarrassing, but not significant. Then he watched the footage. He watched it 7 times. On the 8th viewing, he understood what bothered him. The creature didn't fight like anything he had seen before. Most animals showed some survival instinct. They attacked, but they also retreated when injured. They protected themselves. The honey badger never retreated. Even when struck, it continued attacking. There was no moment of reassessment. No pause to evaluate the threat. Just continuous, relentless aggression until the opponents fled. This is not normal behavior, Dracor said to his training partner. Something is wrong with this creature. Wrong how? It fights like it cannot die. Like pain means nothing. Like fear doesn't exist. Dracor watched the footage again. We Grix trained for years to suppress our fear response. This creature never had one to suppress. That evening, Dracor went to the human sector. Guards initially tried to stop him, but he showed his diplomatic credentials. As arena champion, he had the right to meet any creature entered in the battle registry. And whether the humans wanted it or not, their honey badger was now registered. Raymond answered the door to his quarters. His posture stiffened when he saw the massive Grix warrior. Dr. Cross, Dracor said formally, I request permission to meet your creature. He's not available for fighting, Raymond said quickly. I don't want to fight it. I want to understand it. Dracor gestured to a carrying case. I brought this as a gift. High-protein nutrition bars from my world, suitable for carnivores. Raymond considered this. Why do you want to understand Badger? Because he defeated my people without knowing what he did. Because he displayed something I've spent my entire life trying to achieve. Dracor looked directly at Raymond. Because I need to know if true fearlessness even exists or if we've been chasing an illusion. Raymond led Dracor to the habitat module. Badger was inside, digging in his artificial burrow. When they approached, the honey badger emerged and fixed his dark eyes on the Grix warrior. Dracor moved slowly, respectfully. He activated a scanner and studied the readings. His heart rate didn't increase when he saw me. His body shows no stress markers. How is this possible? Evolution, Raymond explained. Honey badgers come from a continent with lions, leopards, hyenas, and dozens of venomous snakes. They survived by being too tough and too aggressive to bother with. After millions of years, fear became unnecessary. Nothing on their world could kill them easily enough to make running away worthwhile. Millions of years, Dracor repeated. You're saying his entire species evolved to be this way? Yes, and he's not even the most dangerous creature on Earth. Raymond pulled up images on his datapad. This is a polar bear. This is a saltwater crocodile. This is a Cape buffalo. They all evolved on the same world. Dracor stared at the images. Each creature looked more terrifying than the last. What kind of world requires animals to become this dangerous just to survive? The kind humans evolved on too. The implications hung in the air between them. Dracor looked at Raymond with new understanding. You feel fear, don't you? Your kind has the fear response. Yes. But you came to space anyway. You brought your child to a station full of unknown species. Dracor's voice held something like wonder. You feel fear and act despite it. That's harder than not feeling fear at all. Raymond had never thought about it that way. I suppose it is. Your people were right not to enter the arena, Dracor said. You don't need to prove anything. You came from the same world as this creature. That proves enough. Word of Dracor's visit spread quickly. If the Grix champion himself showed respect to the humans, others would follow. The hierarchy was shifting, not through combat, but through revelation. That night, Patricia received a message from the Galactic Council's Xenobiology Institute. They wanted immediate information about Earth and all its species. The message carried an urgent flag. Someone at the Council had watched the footage. Someone had started asking questions, and those questions would soon lead to answers that would change how the galaxy viewed humanity forever. In his habitat, Badger finished burying a food cache and curled up to sleep. He had no idea that his simple act of defending familiar territory had started something much larger than himself. He was just a honey badger being a honey badger. Sometimes that's all it takes to change the galaxy. Dr. Helleth arrived at Highwatch 7 3 days after receiving the urgent request from the Xenobiology Institute. She was a Vorlon, with 6 sensory stalks that could detect biological markers invisible to most species. Her specialty was predator psychology. In 40 years of study, she thought she had seen everything. The footage of Badger changed her mind. She watched it 50 times during her journey to the station. Each viewing revealed something new. The way the creature committed fully to each attack. The complete absence of defensive posturing. The absolute focus on eliminating threats rather than surviving them. Raymond met her at the docking bay with Patricia. They had prepared a full presentation on Earth's biosphere. Dr. Helleth barely glanced at it. I need to see the creature first, she said. Everything else can wait. They led her to the habitat module. Badger was eating his morning meal, tearing apart a synthetic meat substitute with his usual enthusiasm. Dr. Helleth activated every scanner she carried. The readings made her sensory stalks quiver with confusion. This cannot be accurate, she muttered. Run the scans again. Raymond did so. The results remained the same. His adrenal system is active but not elevated. His neural patterns show alertness without anxiety. His muscular tension suggests readiness but not stress. Dr. Helleth moved closer to the transparent wall. It's as if his body exists in a permanent state of mild preparation for violence without any of the negative effects such a state should cause. That's normal for honey badgers, Raymond explained. They're always ready to fight. It doesn't tire them or cause stress. It's just how they are. That should not be biologically possible. The energy cost alone should be prohibitive. The psychological strain should cause system failures. Dr. Helleth's voice held a note of wonder. What evolutionary pressure could create such an adaptation? Patricia pulled up environmental data on Earth. Perhaps this will help explain. For the next hour, Dr. Helleth reviewed the information in silence. Her sensory stalks changed colors several times, indicating shifting emotional states. Raymond couldn't read Vorlon biology well, but he recognized shock when he saw it. Your gravity, Dr. Helleth finally said. It's classified as high level. Most of us would need enhancement suits to function there. It's normal for us, Patricia replied. Your oxygen concentration would be toxic to 40% of known species. We need it to maintain our metabolism. Your Temperature variations would require most species to remain in controlled environments. We have clothing and shelter. Dr. Helleth turned away from the data and looked at Patricia and Raymond with what might have been fear. You're from a death world, the term hung in the air. Raymond had heard it before in xenobiology courses. Death worlds were planets so hostile that they should not produce complex life. Most were quarantined. Only 14 were known to exist in explored space. Earth can't be a death world, Patricia said. Billions of humans live there. We have cities, farms, art, music. Which makes it worse, Dr. Helleth replied. Death worlds that produce sapient life are the most dangerous category. The species that evolve there adapt to survive impossible conditions. They become, she gestured at Badger. They become this. Badger is an animal, not a sapient being, Raymond pointed out. But you are, and you evolved alongside creatures like him. In the same environment, under the same pressures. Dr. Helleth pulled up a comparison chart. Let me show you something. This is the average endurance capacity across known species. Most can maintain physical activity for 20 to 30 minutes before requiring rest. How long can humans maintain activity? Hours, Raymond admitted. We used to hunt by chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. Your bones are dense enough to be used as weapons if broken. Your skin repairs itself from injuries that would be permanent for most species. Your immune system treats threats that would kill others as minor inconveniences. Dr. Helleth's stalks pointed accusingly at them. You're deathworlders who happen to develop intelligence. Patricia sat down slowly. Is that why everyone treated us like prey animals? Because we seem weak compared to warrior species? No. They treated you that way because you hide your nature. You wear soft clothing. You speak gently. You avoid confrontation. But underneath, you're from the same world as that creature. Dr. Helleth pointed at Badger, who had finished eating and was now contentedly grooming blood from his claws. You're predators who learn to be peaceful. That's more frightening than predators who never learned at all. News of Dr. Helleth's findings reached the station's population within hours. Someone leaked the report. By evening, everyone knew that Earth was classified as a death world. The reactions varied wildly. Some species, like the Tandorians and the Morgath, sought immediate diplomatic contact with humans. They came from harsh worlds themselves and recognized kindred survivors. Others, like the Beluvians and the Felinari, began avoiding human sectors entirely. The Grix response surprised everyone. Dracor called a formal assembly of Grix warriors stationed on High Watch 7. 50 warriors gathered in the arena's training hall. He played the footage of Badger's attack, then displayed Dr. Helleth's findings about Earth. We have been fools, Dracor announced. We thought humans were weak because they chose not to fight. We missed the truth. They chose not to fight because they come from a world where everything fights. They learned peace despite their nature, not because of it. What are you suggesting? One warrior asked. I suggest we learn from them. We spent generations trying to eliminate fear through combat training. They grew up on a world where fear was useless because everything was dangerous. They developed something better than fearlessness. They developed courage, the ability to act despite fear. Is there a difference? Another warrior questioned. Yes, we become fearless by suppressing natural instincts. They learn to acknowledge their instincts and act anyway. One is elimination of feeling. The other is mastery of it. Dracor gestured to the image of Badger. The creature has no fear because it never needed any. But humans have fear and came to space regardless. They feel fear and protect their children anyway. They understand danger and choose peace when they could choose violence. That's not weakness. That's strength we never imagined. The assembly ended with a vote. The Grix formally requested cultural exchange with humanity. They wanted to learn what it meant to be strong without being violent. To be capable of terrible things while choosing better ones. Back in his habitat, Badger had found a new toy. Someone had left a cleaning drone's remote control near his enclosure. He was systematically destroying it, pulling apart each component with focused determination. Raymond watched with a mixture of amusement and horror. Should we stop him? Patricia asked. He'll get bored eventually, Raymond replied. Honey badgers need mental stimulation. The galaxy thinks we're terrifying because we share a planet with him. Are they wrong? Patricia considered this. Humans had created weapons that could crack planets. They had diseases in storage that could wipe out populations. They had the knowledge to build horrors beyond imagination. And yet they chose not to. They chose to explore, to trade, to learn, to cooperate. No, Patricia admitted. They're not wrong. We are terrifying. We just choose not to be. Like Badger chooses not to attack unless someone threatens his people. Exactly. That night, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Earth's status was officially updated to Class 7 Death World. Humanity was granted full diplomatic status with all rights and protections. The Council recognized that any species capable of surviving on such a world deserved respect and caution in equal measure. Recommendations were issued to all member species. Treat humans as you would treat any intelligent predator, with respect, with clear communication, and without threatening their young. On Highwatch 7, the change was immediate. Merchants who had ignored humans now sought their business. Diplomats who had dismissed them now requested meetings. The Education Center assigned additional security to ensure no one bothered human children. Lily returned to her classes without incident. Other students kept a respectful distance, but they were no longer cruel. Some even tried to make friends, curious about the Death World child who had been defended by such a fierce creature. And in his habitat, Badger finished destroying the remote control and curled up for a nap. He had no idea he had become the most famous animal in the galaxy. He was just tired from a good play session. Tomorrow he would dig some more burrows. Maybe Lily would visit with treats. Life was simple when you were a honey badger. Eat, sleep, defend territory. Repeat. Sometimes the simplest life has the biggest impact. 3 months passed since Earth received its Death World classification. Highwatch 7 had transformed from a place of isolation for humans into something entirely different. Ships arrived daily carrying diplomats and scientists eager to study the newcomers from the dangerous planet. Raymond's research facility expanded into 3 connected modules. His team grew from 5 humans to 20, along with 12 alien researchers who specifically requested transfers to study Earth life. The facility housed not just Badger anymore, but carefully monitored samples of other Earth species. Plants, insects, even bacteria cultures. Everything fascinated the xenobiologists. Dr. Helleth had stayed on the station, effectively abandoning her previous position to focus solely on Earth biology. She spent hours each day observing Badger, filling notebooks with observations that contradicted decades of accepted biological theory. He should be dead, she muttered one afternoon while watching Badger dig. The caloric intake required for his activity level should be triple what he actually eats. His muscle efficiency violates thermodynamic principles I considered absolute. Maybe your principles need updating, Raymond suggested gently. That's what terrifies me. If Earth life operates on different biological rules, then everything we know about xenobiology might be incomplete. Dr. Helleth's stalks drooped and what Raymond had learned was exhaustion. Do you know how many research papers I'll need to revise? Lily, now 6 years old, had become a minor celebrity on the station. She gave twice-weekly presentations about Earth animals to packed audiences. Children from a dozen species attended, along with their nervous parents who wanted to understand the Death World better. Today's presentation focused on African wildlife. Lily stood before a gathered crowd with images projected behind her. This is an elephant, she explained, pointing to the massive creature on screen. They're very smart and have good memories. They can weigh 6,000 kilograms. A Felinari child raised their paw. Are they predators? No, they eat plants. But they can be dangerous if you make them angry. They protect their families. Like Badger protected you? Yes, like that. The parents in the audience shifted uncomfortably. The idea that even plant-eating Earth creatures could be dangerous had become a common theme in these presentations. Lily moved to the next image. This is a hippopotamus. They look friendly, but they're actually one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. They kill more humans than lions do. Gasps from the audience. A Bolivian diplomat in the back row stood up and left. Raymond watching from the side. That happened at least once per presentation. Some aliens simply couldn't handle the reality of Earth's ecosystem. After the presentation, Dracor approached Lily with a question. Over the past 3 months, the Grix champion had become a regular presence in the human sector. He had started learning human languages and customs, fascinated by the concept of courage versus fearlessness. Lily, Dracor said, kneeling to bring his massive frame closer to her level. May I ask about the day Badger defended you? Okay, were you afraid? Yes, very afraid. But you didn't run. I couldn't, my legs wouldn't move. I was too scared, Dracor considered this. Your fear paralyzed you, yet you survived because Badger felt no fear. But later you continued coming to school. You knew danger existed, yet you returned. Why? Lily thought about this carefully. Because being scared doesn't mean you stop doing things. Daddy says courage is being scared but doing it anyway. Your father is wise. Dracor stood. I'm learning that my people have been pursuing the wrong goal. We wanted to eliminate fear. We should have been learning to act despite it. In the Grix warrior quarters, this philosophy was spreading. Young warriors who once spent all their time in combat training now attended human cultural classes. They learned about human history, about soldiers who felt fear but fought anyway, about explorers who knew the dangers but explored regardless, about parents who faced terrible odds to protect their children. The Grix were discovering that humanity's greatest strength wasn't physical. It was psychological, the ability to acknowledge fear, evaluate risk, and choose to act anyway. It was a kind of bravery they had never imagined existed. Commander Yeltris called Patricia to his office one afternoon. The meeting room overlooked the arena, which had undergone its own transformation. Instead of death matches, it now hosted cultural demonstrations and educational exhibitions. The council has made a decision regarding humans, Yeltris said. They want to establish an embassy here with you as the ambassador. Patricia had expected something like this. What about my role as colonial coordinator? The colonies can send someone else. The council believes humanity needs stronger representation, especially now that 17 other Deathworld species have requested contact with Earth. 17? They've been isolated for generations, considered too dangerous for normal diplomatic relations. But your species has shown that Deathworlders can be peaceful. It's giving them hope that they might join the galactic community. Patricia absorbed this information. Humanity had stumbled into a role they never sought. Bridge builders between the harsh world species and the rest of civilization. All because a small honey badger had defended a child. I accept the position, Patricia said, but I have conditions. Name them. First, Earth creatures must be protected under law. No more demands that they fight in arenas or prove themselves. Second, humans get equal representation in council decisions affecting Deathworld policy. Third, any species that threatens human children faces immediate sanctions. Yeltris's forearms crossed, but he nodded. The council anticipated these requests. They agreed to all terms. The incident with Badger taught everyone an important lesson. Deathworlders are peaceful by choice, not necessity. It's wise not to remind them of that fact. That evening, the human sector held a celebration. News of the embassy had spread quickly. More humans would be arriving soon. Families, teachers, artists, engineers. Earth was officially part of the galactic community now. Raymond brought Badger to the celebration in his secure carrier. The honey badger had become a mascot of sorts, though he remained completely unaware of his fame. People took photos with the carrier, treating it like meeting a celebrity. Does he understand what he started? A human technician asked. Not at all, Raymond replied. He was just protecting someone he recognized. That's all it was to him. Isn't that the point, though? He didn't think about consequences or politics. He just did what was right. Raymond looked at Badger, who was examining a treat with intense focus. Maybe that's what we should all do. Stop overthinking and just do what's right. Dracor joined them, carrying a container of the Grix protein bars that Badger had grown fond of. May I feed him? Go ahead. Dracor opened the carrier's feeding port and offered the treat. Badger took it gently, then retreated to his corner to eat. The massive warrior watched with something like affection. My people are writing new training protocols, Dracor said, based on human concepts of courage and duty. We're teaching young warriors that strength includes knowing when not to fight. That's a big change from 3 months ago, Patricia observed. 3 months ago we thought we knew what strength meant. Then we watched a creature 1/10 our size defeat 3 warriors because it cared about protecting someone small and weak. Dracor smiled, an expression that looked strange on his reptilian features. We were wrong about strength. We were wrong about courage. We were wrong about humans. We're trying not to be wrong anymore. Lily approached with a drawing she had made. It showed a small honey badger standing in front of a human child, facing down 3 large monsters. She had labeled it Badger the Brave. Can we hang this in his habitat? She asked her father. I think Badger would like that, Raymond replied. In truth, Badger wouldn't notice or care. But the galaxy would. That image would be reproduced millions of times across hundreds of worlds. It would become a symbol of something important. That size doesn't determine courage. That protecting the innocent matters more than personal glory. That sometimes the smallest among us teach the greatest lessons. The celebration continued late into the night. Humans and aliens mixed freely now, sharing food and stories. The barriers that had existed 3 months ago had crumbled. Not through violence or domination, but through understanding. And in his carrier, Badger finished his treat and curled up to sleep. Tomorrow would bring more digging, more eating, and maybe more visits from the small human, who always smelled like fruit bars. Life was good when you were a honey badger, simple, direct, and occasionally requiring aggressive defense of territory. He had no idea he had changed the galaxy, and he wouldn't have cared if he knew. Some heroes don't need recognition. They just need dinner and a good place to dig. 6 months after the incident, High Watch 7 had become the center of what historians would later call the Death World Alliance. Representatives from 19 harsh world species now maintained permanent residences on the station. Patricia's embassy coordinated their integration into galactic society. The Crimson Arena still stood, but its purpose had completely changed. Today marked the opening of the new exhibition hall, a place where species could showcase their worlds without violence. The arena floor had been converted into a series of habitat zones, each carefully controlled to represent different planetary environments. Lily stood beside Badger's new expanded habitat as hundreds of aliens filed in for the opening ceremony. The honey badger had been moved to this larger space a month ago. It featured proper soil from Earth, real plants, and even a small water feature. Badger seemed content with the upgrade, spending most of his time digging elaborate tunnel systems. "Are you nervous?" Anne Cross asked her daughter. "A little," Lily admitted. "There's a lot of people. You've done this before. Just tell them about Badger like you always do." But this was different. Today's audience included council members, ambassadors from 50 worlds, and the leadership of every major species in the sector. They were all here to see the creature that had started everything. Patricia stepped onto the central platform and addressed the crowd. Her voice carried through the hall's amplification system. 6 months ago, 3 young warriors made a terrible mistake. They threatened a child. What happened next changed all of us. Patricia gestured to the habitat where Badger was currently napping in a patch of sunlight. That small creature responded with a kind of fearlessness we had never encountered. Not trained fearlessness. Not learned courage. Just pure instinctive defense of someone he cared about. The crowd listened in silence. Many had seen the footage dozens of times, but hearing it summarized still carried impact. We learned that Earth is a death world, that humans evolved alongside creatures like Badger, that we carry the marks of our harsh origin in our biology and psychology. Patricia paused. But we also learned something more important. That survivors from dangerous worlds aren't dangerous themselves. They're survivors. They understand threat better than anyone, and that makes them the best teachers of peace. Patricia introduced Lily, who walked to the platform with careful steps. She had grown more confident over the past months, but speaking to this many important people still frightened her. "Badger is a honey badger," Lily began. "They live in Africa on Earth. They're small but very tough. They fight snakes and eat bees and don't get scared of lions." She pointed to where Badger was stirring from his nap. "When those warriors scared me, Badger protected me. Not because I trained him. Not because I asked. Just because that's what honey badgers do. They defend their territory and their people." A Grix in the audience stood up. It was Talrock, the warrior who had threatened Lily. His leg still bore scars from Badger's teeth. "May I speak?" Talrock asked. Patricia nodded. "I was one of the warriors who threatened this child," Talrock said. "I thought humans were weak. I thought making her afraid would prove Grix superiority." He looked at Lily. "I was wrong. I learned that day what real strength looks like. Not the strength to hurt the weak. The strength to protect them." Talrock approached Badger's habitat slowly. The honey badger watched him through the transparent wall with those same dark, fearless eyes. "This creature defeated me because I gave him reason to. I threatened something he cared about. The lesson wasn't about his strength or my weakness. It was about purpose. He had a purpose worth fighting for. I only had pride." The Grix warrior bowed to Lily. "I apologize for frightening you. I apologize for forcing your protector to violence. I have learned better now." Lily accepted the apology with a nod. She had feared Talrock for months, but seeing him now, humbled and changed, she realized he wasn't a monster, just someone who had made a mistake and learned from it. Dracor stood next. The Grix people have begun a transformation. We're rebuilding our warrior culture around human concepts. Courage instead of fearlessness. Protection instead of domination. Service instead of conquest. He looked around at the gathered species. Other warrior cultures should consider doing the same. True strength comes from knowing when not to use force. Dr. Helleth approached the platform next. I've spent 6 months studying Earth biology. Every day reveals something new that contradicts what we thought we knew. But the most important lesson isn't biological. It's philosophical. She gestured to Badger. This creature has no philosophy, no culture, no complex thoughts. He simply is, and yet he demonstrated values that many sapient species struggle with. Loyalty, courage, selfless protection. Perhaps intelligence isn't required for virtue. Perhaps the virtues we prize most are older than thought itself. The ceremony continued with speeches from other delegates. Representatives from the newly contacted Death World species spoke about their hope for integration. Scholars discussed research opportunities. Merchants talked about trade possibilities, but the real star of the show remained asleep in his habitat. Badger had woken briefly when Talrock approached, assessed that no threat existed, and gone back to napping. He was blissfully unaware that he had become the most famous animal in known space. After the ceremony, Raymond found Patricia in the quiet space behind the habitats. She looked exhausted but satisfied. "We did it," Patricia said. "The alliance is real. 19 Death World species working together. All because of one honey badger," Raymond replied. "No, because of what that honey badger represented. The idea that being from a dangerous world doesn't make you dangerous. That survivors can be peaceful. That strength and gentleness aren't opposites." Raymond watched through the habitat wall as Lily sat nearby, reading a book while Badger dug. The honey badger would occasionally pause to look at her, then return to his tunneling. It was a peaceful scene that would have seemed impossible 6 months ago. "What's next?" Raymond asked. "The Council approved the Death World exchange program. Scientists and diplomats from harsh worlds will train here, then spread across the galaxy. We're going to change how civilization views environment-based prejudice. That's ambitious. So was coming to space in the first place. So was surviving on Earth for 1,000,000 years. Humanity doesn't do small ambitions." That evening, the human sector hosted a private dinner. Just the families who had been there from the beginning. The ones who had endured the mockery and disrespect. The ones who had watched everything change because of one small act of protection. Lily sat next to Dracor, who had become something like an adopted uncle to her. The massive warrior was carefully trying to use human utensils, a skill he was determined to master. "Will you visit Earth someday?" Lily asked him. "I hope to," Dracor replied. "Your father promised to show me the African savanna, where creatures like Badger live in the wild. It's very hot there, and there's lots of dangerous animals." "I know. I'm looking forward to it," Dracor smiled. "I want to see the world that made humans what they are. A place so dangerous that intelligence evolved as a survival tool. Where cooperation wasn't optional but necessary. Where courage meant the difference between life and death." "It's just home to us," Lily said simply. "That's what makes you extraordinary. You think it's normal." The dinner continued with laughter and shared stories. The barriers between species had fallen so far that it was hard to remember they had ever existed. Children from 3 different worlds played together in the corner. Adults shared food from 5 different planets. The evening felt like what galactic civilization should have always been. Later, Raymond brought Lily to visit Badger one final time before bed. The honey badger emerged from his tunnels and approached the viewing wall. Lily pressed her hand against the transparent surface. Badger touched his nose to the spot where her hand rested. "Thank you for saving me," Lily whispered. Badger, of course, had no idea what she was saying. He simply recognized the small human who visited regularly, the one who smelled familiar, the one who was part of his territory. That was enough. Raymond picked up his daughter and carried her home. Behind them, Badger returned to his digging. Tomorrow would bring the same routine. Eat, dig, sleep, defend if necessary. The life of a honey badger continued unchanged by fame or importance. But across the galaxy, on hundreds of worlds, the image of that small, fearless creature standing between a child and danger had become a symbol. Not of aggression or violence, but of what mattered most: protecting those who cannot protect themselves, standing firm against injustice, refusing to back down when something important is at stake. The Death World Alliance would grow. More species would join. Policies would change. But at the heart of it all would remain the memory of one honey badger who simply did what honey badgers do, and in doing so, changed everything. Some heroes roar their victories. Some accept medals and honors, and some just dig a few more tunnels and take a nap, completely unaware that they've saved more than just one child. They've saved the hope that different worlds, different species, different levels of strength and danger could all find a way to live together peacefully. That was Badger's legacy, and he would never even know.